This is the truth. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life.
You won't see a monster more handsome than this.
Alright, so I know I'm a little bit late to making this guide. Just a tad. But I really wanted to wait until Agami was released so I get a good idea of how viable his skills and cards were so I can include him as part of the guide. Definitely wasn't procrastinating at all. So this is part 4 of my 5-part series, going through every single world in Duel Links individually from the OG Duel monsters up to Dark Side Dimensions, and hopefully Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal when it arrives, covering every single character's level up rewards and skills to give you guys a general rating of each character so you know who you should be grinding and what cards to look out for. Now if you haven't seen the rest of the series, I highly suggest doing so, and I'll leave a link at the top of the description to each of the videos so you can properly decide which characters you want to grind for first. This video will be covering Dark Side Dimensions. Now for those of you that haven't seen the previous guides, I'll go through my ranking system again. If you have seen the previous parts, feel free to skip ahead a little, as this will just be a flat out copy and paste from the original video. I'll be judging each character based on 2 things, their rewards and their skills. Now important to note, I will only be judging cards that are only obtainable via level up. So for example, Arcana has Magician's Rod, which is a pretty good card, but it's also obtainable from the card trader. So it's not something I'll consider in this guide, as you don't actually have to level Arcana to actually get the card. Also important to note, I won't be judging cards based on how fun I think they are. I'll purely be basing them on how strong they are, or if I think they have future potential, which is different to how I look at the skills. The skills will be separated into 2 categories, fun and viable. Viable in this sense is any skill that is used actively, or was used actively to an extent in any particular deck, or at least has the potential to be used in the future. And fun is any skill that's not really relevant but is still fun to play, such as the God card skills. Also important to note, I will not be reviewing based on shared skills, as there is no point to me reviewing a character based on grit, balance, or ties that binds, as all these kinds of skills are obtainable on a large portion of the characters, and really shouldn't be the main selling point of a character, as you most likely will be attaining these skills eventually anyway, or at least unlock a character that has access to them without having to do very much. If anything, this guide should be a way of you deciding which of the Ties That Binds characters is worth your time grinding. Some skills on this guide, like Life Cost 0, are shared, as you will see, but I've left it to a limit of 4 characters max per skill, as these skills are still really exclusive and should still be counted as selling points for a character. I will put all these factors into account and give you a ranking on each character, from S tier down to F tier. And without further ado, let's get into it. By the way, if you do enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like, and if you want to see more stuff from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. You guys have shown quite a lot of support for this series so far, and I do really appreciate it. Starting us off with a very decent start, we have Yugi Moto, A tier. Now the main reason I gave Dark Side Dimensions Yugi an A is because my previous rating of normal Duel Monster World Yugi was a B, and to be honest, in terms of rewards and viable skills, they are quite similar. Only this one is just a flat upgrade that comes with a ridiculous amount of fun and unique skills to mess with, especially if you're a fan of Dark Magician. Born from Earth, Dark Horizon, and Gathering of Disciples are all off-meta Dark Magician skills you can mess around with the latter having a tiny bit of future potential if we ever get some insane Dark Magician Girl x Dark Magician support. Some other fun skills include Warrior Sacrifice for Silent Swordsman, Spiral Spear Strike for Gaia, Centrifugation for Rocks, Contract Door if you want to throw some games, and Morph if you're a fan of cute fairy fuzzballs. In terms of viable skills, Yugi is a little bit of a letdown, with the only skill actually seeing play being My Monster Cards, but that skill recently received a pretty harsh consistency nerf and isn't as widely used anymore. Spell Counter Boost is a skill that has some future potential if we ever get a proper spell counter deck, but it also might just be completely useless. Thankfully, he has some really decent card rewards to compensate for his lack of viable skills, especially if you're a fan of rocks. Beta is arguably the best magnet card for magnets. Vendalion isn't actually played at the moment, but is a decent card if counter trap focused decks do pop up. And Tail Crusader and Sentry Soldier are both great cards for Block Dragon rock style graveyard decks, with Sentry Soldier getting a small buff with Xyz just around the corner. Continuing the spree of decent characters, we have Taya Gardner, B tier. So at the time of recording this video, the best deck in the metagame is Witchcrafter, and Taya offers you 2 card rewards that are played in nearly every variant of that deck, with Witchcrafter Masterpiece and Witchcrafter Adele. And the good news is, they are only ever played at 1 copy, meaning you only actually have to get Taya to level 10 to acquire the cards. Viable skill wise, she has 2, but sadly both these skills are kinda niche. Holy Guard gets used from time to time in random decks, with the most notable one probably being Gladiator Beast, and Defense Charge is extremely niche, and is basically only used to combo with Super Heavy Samurai for some nasty OTKs. If you're a fan of Magician Girls and want to try out some Magician Girl focused skills, Taya does have a couple of off-meta skills there, but I'm not gonna lie, these skills are very underwhelming, and you're definitely better off playing Magician Girls with something else. Next up, we have the best character for this world, and honestly, in my opinion, is just the best character in terms of skill design in the entire game. Seto Kaiba, S tier. Now if we're talking card rewards, Kaiba doesn't have anything too draw-dropping, at least not on their own. Deep Eyes is a pretty cool card, but has never really seen any meta-relevant play, but might in the future if we head into a destruction meta. And Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon might seem like a pretty big meme, but thanks to the recent rework of the skill Ultimate Dragons, is actually a very viable option. Kaiba has 2 insane Blue Eyes skills, which in my opinion are probably the best design skills in the game. Both are seen to be competitively viable, both are really fun to play, and neither of which, at least in my opinion, are stupidly overpowered or do something that can just outright ruin the duel for your opponent. And on top of that, both skills that you play with cards we don't have access to in the game otherwise, which is something I wish a lot more skills did. And if you are still not convinced on messing with this character has quite a few off-meta dragon skills, including another really fun skill that grants you a copy of the insane ritual monster, Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. Honestly, if you have free time on your hands and plan to play Blue Eyes at some point, just farm skills on Kaiba. If anyone is worth the pain in the ass that skill grinding is, it's Kaiba. Now we have a character that honestly I might just be underrating quite a lot, with the new world just around the corner. Sarah, C tier. As it stands, Sarah hasn't got any actively played card rewards or viable skills outside Defense Charge in some Super Heavy Samurai decks. Her other viable skill is Mind of the Planner, which one day might become super relevant if a top tier banish focused deck emerges and becomes extremely popular, but as of right now, it's not touched at all. Her card rewards include a ton of Constellar cards, which at the moment are complete dogshit, but Constellar is generally known as an Xyz archetype, meaning there's a good chance with Zexal around the corner, we might be seeing a good reason to play some of these cards, and same goes for Guardian of Order, so maybe in a month or two this character will jump up a couple of tiers. Amaterasu is another really cool boss card reward Sarah offers, but sadly it's probably more of a meme now due to some of the newer rule changes Konami implemented that just about killed this card. In terms of fun skills, she does have Afterlife Lockdown for Cubics, as well as 2 skills that are aimed to utilise monsters that have the same attack as their defense. And now, the moment you have all been waiting for. The first ever God tier character in this series. Scud. God awful tier. Now I've tried to be a tad generous here. Scud has 2 cards that may be considered decent, with Thestalos and Tyrant's Temper, but honestly, both these cards see absolutely no play at the moment and probably will never see any play. The main issue with Tyrant's Temper is going second it's useless, as it takes time to set up, but going first makes it also pretty useless, as you clearly don't have to worry about your opponent's traps disrupting you if your opponent hasn't had any time to set any traps in the first place, so it's generally better just to run generic back row removal or just play a Jinzo. There is a small chance that this Mega Monarch gets played down the line, as there's still an insane amount of Monarch support that could be added to the game, but I'm not even sure people would play this card even if Monarchs did make a comeback, especially considering it's only really useful going first. And that's it for Scud. Literally nothing else. No skills I would consider good, and unless your idea of fun is 50 extra damage on top of your combo, he also has no fun skills either. Pretty sure Konami released him as a joke or a meme, and therefore treated his skills the same way. Next up, just like his older brother, we have the superior variant of the original world character, Mokuba Kaiba, B tier. If you're a fan of Thunder Dragons, you will need to grind Mokuba eventually to get a hold of Thunder Dragon Raw. Sadly, Thunder Dragon has dropped out of the meta pretty drastically since its targeted nerfs a few months back, so it really hurt the value of this character. But there's still a ton of future potential for that archetype. 100 Thunders is also another pretty decent Thunder Dragon card that Mokuba offers, but I'm pretty certain when this deck was top tier, the card wasn't played all that often, and when it was played, it was just a one-off. The final card reward to consider is Ruins, which is a spell card that has never really seen any play, but I still have a small amount of hope for it appearing in a random meta down the line. But it's probably never going to happen. In terms of viable skills, once again we have Defense Charge, but we also have See You Later, which sees a lot of random play all over the place in Blackwing, Ritual Beast, Evil Eye, Dark Magician. It's just played all over the place, but never really considered the best skill for these decks, at least not the most popular. But I assume there will be a gross combo down the line that will utilise this skill. As for fun skills, just like his brother, there is a ridiculous amount of dragon skills for you to mess with, along with a skill called You're Powerless, which is basically just a Phoenix chain counter. Back down to the complete garbage now, we have Joey Wheeler. D tier. Joey has 2 card rewards to offer. Banisher Delight, which is basically a purely sideboard card designed to deal with graveyard heavy metas, which despite being in one, has still not managed to see any play as of yet. But I guess he does have a small amount of future potential, and Sasuke Samurai, which is actually a pretty decent card reward if you plan to play any Desperado decks. Skill wise, Joey has absolutely no viable skills, but on the bright side, he does have a pretty decent catalogue of unique fun skills to mess with, especially if you're a fan of Red Eyes. But my personal favourite has to be Time Roulette Go, for being probably one of the easier ways to make Darksage memes a reality. And last but not least, to complete the guide, we have Aigami. C tier. Now just like Sarah, this rating I could be drastically undervaluating the future potential of this character, as honestly, the cubic cards themselves don't really seem too bad and have a ton of future potential if more support is added. But by the looks of how harshly Konami has restricted the main skills for cubic, it's pretty obvious, at least to me, that they have no plans of ever letting cubics be a top tier contender, which is why you'll notice I also put cubics in the fun section, despite having a lot of future potential. If you do want to play cubics though, this is your guy, as it contains some great cubic support via level up rewards in both Cubic Karma and the Cubic King, as well as a few other rewards. Agami is also the other character to contain the future potential skill Mind of the Planner, as well as a random skill called You Don't Deserve to Exist in My World, which hard counters potential future equip spell decks if they become super popular down the line. Alright guys, that's it for the guide. If you did enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like, comment your feedback, and if you want to see more stuff from me, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Like I said at the start of the video, you guys have shown quite a lot of support for this series, and I do appreciate it a lot, and hopefully plan to continue the series once Extra arrives. Maybe as more of a special edition kind of thing where I just give my first take of each character, or I might wait a while to see how each character does meta-wise. Let me know what you think. Either way, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.
Hey, big brother, can I watch SpongeBob?
Shut up, Mokuba. I'm busy flagging YouTube videos to compensate for the fact that I have an extremely small penis.
Oh.